the question has been raised why schools make these decisions. We have here tonight a veteran college administrator, Gene Corrigan. I'm going to call upon you, the former commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. You were the athletic director at Virginia at Notre Dame. Football makes a lot of money at many schools. What about these choices? Are administrators just not doing well with their books, malfeasance, and blaming it on Title IX when they have to drop some of these minor, end quotes, men's teams?
I'm glad I'm retired. These are difficult. You all know that. These are very, very difficult decisions to make. You know, it occurred to me as I was listening to this that there seems to be a theme that Title IX has taken a step back. But when you talk about football, college football, and Bill, you know this, certainly there's no more avid football conference in the world than the Southeast Conference. That they have a conference rule that says you must have 2 more women's sports than you have men's sports. They've had that. That's not recent. You know, that's been in the last 10 years. At least they've done that. People have made efforts to do these things. The saddest thing ever is to drop a sport. I've been involved. I did it once when I was at Notre Dame. I dropped ice hockey. And I want to tell you, it's the worst thing I ever went through in my life, because those people that played that sport, the parents of the people.
And why did you drop it? Was it Title IX compliance?
No, it really wasn't. That was a budgetary thing at the time.
Well, let me ask you, getting back to the idea of proportionality that we talked about before, do administrators hide behind proportionality because they've made bad budget decisions?
Well, I can't tell what people do. I mean, honestly, the people that get involved in these things are trying their very best to do it. I think that the progress that women's sports have made, the joy that they have brought to campuses, the joy that they brought to their parents, to the people that are involved in it is wonderful. But I can't criticize anybody for dropping anything, because when you're sitting there, you have the budget, you have to make it. There's nobody that's going to bail you out. You have decisions that you have to make. They very often involve football or basketball. Both spend a lot of money, both make a lot of money, both spend a lot of money.
You've got the budget and the federal law, too, to keep an eye on, too, don't you?
That's exactly right.
Right, Jessica?
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, we live in a world of scarcity. All administrators have to make decisions about how they're going to allocate their resources. The question is, do they make those decisions in a vacuum, or do they make those decisions under pressure of this law? And thanks to this law, those budgetary pressures are falling exclusively, basically, on men's teams when there is a budget crunch. So the notion that these are separate things, it's either a budget issue or a Title IX issue, is false. Of course, they play together. The point is that every time there is a budgetary question, and many times when there's not, as in the case of Marquette Wrestling, no budgetary question, still cut the team.
They were funded by private donations,
they were funded by alumni, and they got cut because Marquette was 54% female and had a 46% female athletic.
Let me go back to Roy just for a second. Roy, I'd like you to answer. Was Title IX a reason, a prime reason, that your administration cut your team?
Yeah, I don't think it's a question of the battle of the sexes anymore, Bob. I think it's really the battle between participation and over expenditures, as Nancy had pointed out. And I really think that government, the Olympic Committee, and the NCAA need to convene immediately and solve the problem, because we're eliminating a lot of great opportunities for young boys coming up. Very similar to what the girls didn't have 30 years ago, the boys' programs are starting to get whittled away.
Bob, one important thing to note, too, is that Marquette and some others, there's no football team. So this blanket indictment of football really doesn't apply in all cases.
Quickly, Christine.
Yeah, well, to his point on the Olympic issue, it is a big deal. There's no doubt about that, and I think it is something that everyone's looking at. My thought, as we're listening to football men talk about this, is I've wondered over the years, it's more of a question, Bob, than a comment, were administrators slow to react to Title IX because they were afraid of their football coaches? Were they afraid to touch the 10,000-pound gorilla? And if that's the case, we're hearing from Coach Curry tonight an entirely different and much more of a welcoming feeling that football does have to do something. And I think that's a step forward in this conversation about where does Title IX go in the next 30 years.
Well, I can respond to that. Yeah, some of them were terrified of the
I will tell you something, Bill.
Gorilla, but
we appreciate you being here tonight, Bill. I cannot tell you how many of your brethren who are currently coaching in college football we also invited to be here tonight, who are engaged, just couldn't make their way to Hartford. I will not embarrass them by mentioning names, but dozens of phone calls were made.
They don't work for ESPN.
I understand that. We're very happy to have you here, as we always are, but it seems to me we had a hell of a time getting a college football coach to come here and talk about this tonight.
Well, let me just finish. Like all other groups of people, trust me. Well, that's not a good way to say it. I hope to earn your trust. Believe me, there are coaches who really do care about these issues, who really care about opportunities for women, really do, really are willing to share the wealth and the resources. And then there are some that couldn't care less about the things that matter. But I think it was Nancy that said, let me talk to the people who have a daughter. I have a daughter and a son. Our son got to play 14 organized sports. Our daughter went out for one because there just weren't any. So, I mean, we've been sensitized. I'm married to a historian of women's issues, so I've been educated forcefully in these issues.
All right, we're going to take a break right there and step aside in just a second. We'll look at some of the other topics on our agenda this evening as we take a look at our town meeting here in Hartford.
When On the Basis of Sex, an ESPN town meeting continues, a look at how women athletes are marketed to the public, sometimes in shockingly provocative ways.
And welcome back. We would like to welcome two new members to our town hall panel here this evening in Hartford. Ty Votaw is in his 4th year as the commissioner of the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. Donna Orender is the senior vice president for strategic development for the PGA Tour. She played basketball at Queens College and also played professionally in the WBL, where she was an all-star. Now, we have asked league administrators to join us this evening as we look at the issue of selling women's sports, because it is obvious that in their fight for acceptance as athletic equals, women are using their sexuality to promote themselves and their sports.
The run-up to the 2000 Summer Olympics saw a number of provocative photographs of female athletes, including the nude poses of World Cup soccer hero Brandi Chastain. Currently, other WUSA players are marketed with an eye on attractiveness, as some women maintain they can strive for athletic equality while selling their personal allure.
Some people say, you know, we're using our sex appeal, you know, to further ourselves in the sport. But I think I would love people just, for number one, to see me as an athlete. And then if they think I look okay, well, then that's good, too.
This is who I am. I am Sue Bird.
Rookie Sue Bird is part of a new WNBA campaign with prominent players featured in off-the-court poses. Bird has no problem being regarded as a sex symbol.
Whatever can draw people to the game, you know, whatever gets people in the stands to watch us play basketball, I think you should take advantage of that, and you should use that, you know. There are a lot of women out there who are attractive and who attract people in the stands because of that.
Ready, go.
Lisa Harrison, in a Playboy.com poll, was voted the sexiest player in the WNBA, but she declined the magazine's offer to pose nude.
I don't want to be a model. This is hard work. I'd rather be out on the basketball court.
WUSA Director Lynn Morgan would welcome a sexiest athlete poll for her new league, the better to sell the product.
You know, we're still trying to create awareness of this league, and I think there are lots of ways we can do that. And, you know, if people want to talk about the attractiveness of our players and have a poll, I think that's great.
But the league's most valuable player rejects the idea of selling women's sports with sex.
That's just the wrong way to go about it. It's the wrong way. You know, you stay true to your sport. You know, your focus should be on the playing field and should be on the golf course. It shouldn't be on how you look.
If there's two players that are alike in skill and one is really pretty and the other one is not, then the marketers are going to be like, what do our viewers want to see? What does America want to see?
America certainly wants to see Anna Kournikova, who enjoys numerous endorsements, breathless press coverage, and high name recognition, despite the fact she has famously never won a professional tournament.